Hello, this is Michael Anthony Perutka, and I am a Republican candidate for Anne Arundel County Council in District 5. I would appreciate if you give your attention to this brief video, which is brought to you by authority of Friends of Michael Anthony Perutka, Thomas A. Pavlinick, Treasurer. What do you say when someone running for office asks for your vote? Let's say someone knocks at your door and they smile and they tell you that they're running for state delegate or state representative or state senate, or maybe for some county office like county council or sheriff. Maybe they're running for Congress or the U.S. Senate. Let's say you know little about them except that they are polite and they make a nice appearance. They ask for your support and maybe for some money to help their campaign. Do you just say yes to be nice? Or do you just say yes or no to make them go away? Are there some relevant and important and simple questions you can ask that will tell you very quickly whether you should support them or not? You bet there are. Let's talk about it. Here at the Institute on the Constitution, you've heard us talk about what we call the American view of law and government. Now, this view is an expression of the belief system on which America was founded and contains the philosophy of American public policy and government. The American view can be summarized like this. There is a creator God. Our rights are part of his created order. They are his gifts to us and they are permanent and fixed. And the purpose of civil government is to secure these God-given rights. Now, following this understanding, we can see the critical importance of voting only for a candidate that, 1, acknowledges and fears God, 2, demonstrates that he has an American, that is to say, biblical view of law and government, and 3, demonstrates that he will take actions that are driven by and in harmony with A, God's law, and B, the limitations of the Constitution. Personally, I can also see that casting my vote for someone who doesn't meet these requirements will mean that I will stand before God and be judged for my failure to obey him. And we should also see that when we choose the lesser of two evils, we continually get evil, and we certainly deserve evil because we affirmatively chose it. But Michael, you say, hardly any candidates meet this righteous standard. Well, practically speaking, right now there may be only 1 or 2 or maybe just a few qualified persons running in your district this November. And there may be none. And this may sound like a radical statement, but I'm saying that you can't vote lesser of two evils in any race. If there is not a qualified candidate in a race, then you can't vote in that race, period. You see, to do otherwise is to contribute to the problem of lawless government. So how do I determine if a candidate is competent? How do I determine if he understands his oath, whether he knows his job description, and whether he's willing and able to perform it? Well, here are a few simple questions that you can ask a candidate at a town hall meeting or when he walks up your driveway and knocks on your door. You could also seek answers to these questions by mailing them to a candidate or by visiting his website and reading about his philosophy and his positions. Question number 1. What is the purpose of civil government? Here's a bad answer. Any answer that calls for redistribution of wealth, including welfare-type programs such as the purpose of government is to do for people what they can't do for themselves, or the purpose of government is to help people improve their lives, or the government needs to educate the children of the state. Now here's a much better answer. The purpose of government is to protect and defend God-given rights to life, liberty, and property. Question number 2. Where does law come from? A bad answer would be any answer that contemplates that law comes from man or that it changes with time. Any answer that indicates an acceptance of the evolutionary, living constitution mode of thinking, such as the law must adapt and change as times change. Now here's a better answer. Law comes from God. Like our founders, I understand that God is the lawgiver. All man-made law must comply with God's law as revealed in Scripture, or it is not law and cannot be enforced. Question number 3. What is an oath? And what happens to you if you break your oath of office? A bad answer would be this. An oath is a serious promise to the people that you will do a good job. If I break my oath, then the people shouldn't re-elect me. A much better answer would be this. An oath is a solemn and binding act before God that presupposes and acknowledges the sovereignty of God over all things and recognizes that disobedience will subject the oath taker to God's judgment. Question 4. Do you believe that it's your job to bring home the bacon to your district? A bad answer would be yes, of course. A better answer would be no. Bringing home the bacon is just another form of theft. The great lie of socialism is that you can get something for nothing. Question 5. Do you think it's more important to introduce and pass legislation or to work to repeal legislation that has been passed by your predecessors? Now, a bad answer would be, it's important to pass legislation that helps my district financially. Passing legislation that gets me more money for my district makes me look good. A better answer would be this. Inasmuch as we currently have departed so far from constitutional government in all three branches, I am committed to working to repeal those harmful and dangerous actions of my predecessors that have moved us away from the American, that is to say, the biblical view of civil government, and we have much to undo. So these are just a few simple examples of questions that will help you to determine whether a candidate is qualified, and my purpose here is to give you a start on what to ask and what to look for in an answer. Our failure to uphold a standard is what has gotten us into an ungodly, unconstitutional mess. To get out of it, we must think clearly and rightly and compel our representatives to do so as well. Their performance won't be higher than our standard. Make sure it's a clear one. Make sure it's the right one. Now, if this means that you go into the voting booth and pull just one lever or two or just a few, so be it. I implore you not to be complicit in evil doing by voting for the lesser of two evils. If you find that there is not one lever you could pull, then write in your own name and put yourself on the ballot next time. Now, if you'd like to see a complete video on this very subject, please go to theamericanview.com and look for How Then Should I Vote? This is Michael Anthony Peruka for Institute on the Constitution, bringing you the American View.